Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to get into rebinding one of my favorite books ever, One Dark Window. And it's so beautiful the way it is, but I love hardcovers. So we're going to get over the worst part of this, which is tearing it up, and get started. So when we're tearing this cover off, we're going to sacrifice a couple of these front pages, which is perfectly fine, because what's a little sacrifice in the name of beauty, am I right? So now that we have the bare text block, we're going to be able to start building the cover around it. And this little cutting tool is my best friend ever. When I found this paper online, I absolutely fell in love with it because it totally fit the vibe I was going for with this book. I had to let the bats exist. I knew they were going to be visible. But, I mean, they did kind of fit the vibe with the way that Blunder is, right? I mean, you have the misty forest, you have death everywhere, it's awful. I decided to let it ride because it's going to be fine, right? So we're going to cut the paper down to size for the book. I measured it out, and then I used my little cutting tool to trim it down so I could glue it onto the text box. I think at this point I was kind of regretting the bats, but I was not willing to let go of the misty forest side, so we're just accepting it for what it is. I use this super thick cardboard for the cover. I go by measuring the text block and adding just a little bit extra so the cover overhangs the actual pages of the book. You measure length, width, the spine. Measure 15 times, cut once, right? Right. So I trace it out onto the cardboard and then I start slicing. Ta-da! And I like the size of these sheets because I can get an entire cover out of one sheet, so it's less waste for me, which makes me happy. At this point, I like to make sure that it's the size I want it to be, just roughly, and then we go from there. I was so worried about measuring, and then I just realized that I already had it measured, so I'm a little bit of a chaos goblin sometimes. It's fine. This square I totally robbed from my husband, but it helps so much. So this next bit is actually something new that I learned to do when I'm rebinding, and that is actually add a little support. We have my ramekin, my glue, and my favorite silicone brush ever. So I take the spine first, glue that together. I'm sorry for my amazing cinematography film skills. I'm still working on it. I'll get there, I promise. So we're going to put this onto this cardstock, cut it down to size. Make sure everything's flattened and even. Create the creases, get rid of the glue. I'm messy with glue, I can't help it. So these little T pieces, you can actually order really easily. A lot of people 3D print them themselves. And I use that to keep the spacing for the cover between the spine. Glue that down. Still make sure it's all smooth. At this point, I usually start to get really excited because it starts to actually look like a book. And I'm a dork and I like books, so it makes me happy. Ta-da! Now we're going to glue the paper onto the book. And you just line it up to the edge. And I think I've already put the glue on the edge. I don't know where that part of the film went, but anyway. I put an arrow on the spine so I know which way is up without having to open the book every time. And I always make sure that my paper is facing the correct way. Little dab of glue along the very edge. And just hold that paper down until it adheres. And of course you have to open it to look how beautiful it's going to be. Ta-da! Now we are going to put the book in the press, the text box, or text block, thank you, Anna, in the press so we can put the mole and the ribbon and the headbands on. I'm going to use this beautiful darker green ribbon that's going to fit the color scheme that I'm going for. I always like to add it just a little bit longer so I can trim it up later. I would rather cut some off than it be too short. I'm going to add my headbands to the top and the bottom of the spine. Ta-da! That's my expression today. Don't ask me why. Next, we're going to glue on the mole. This is actually going to help secure the text block to the cover that we made when we glue it on there. And we're just going to set this aside and let it dry for a while. I've actually had this cover designed forever. It was just been sitting on my computer. And I am cutting it out. The original design that I did not like the colors, so I went back and I reprinted everything with a better color scheme. And I'm just loading up the mats so I can use my Cricut to cut them all out. I didn't film any of that because it's kind of tedious and boring. And always remember, shiny side down when you're using heat transfer vinyl. Next, we make the actual cover. I found this beautiful dark green fabric that was absolutely perfect. We use the larger T-piece to make our outline for where we're going to fold over the fabric onto the cover. And it is just wide enough that I can get one cover out of a narrow piece, which leaves me more fabric for other projects. I don't like waste, so it makes me perfectly happy. And I know that piece isn't even. I'll fix it in a second. Yep, nope. OCD brain says, nah fam. Toodles. I am super messy with glue. I know this about myself, so I always use some parchment paper to keep my mat safe, so I don't have to worry about glue getting all over the fabric. You see me getting very bored with doing this the clean way, so we go full on kindergarten and just dump it on there and smear it around. It's still effective, not worried about it. Now we're going to put the fabric on, straighten it up, center it, smooth it out. I always use one of these little pieces to do the seams and the edges. It just lays nicer, makes it look pretty. And now all that glue is on the parchment paper and you can just fold it over. And now you don't have to worry about glue. Magical. There's a corner piece that you cut the corners off so it'll lay better. And then we just start gluing the edges of the fabric down. I kind of rub it on the parchment paper so it creates that crease and it gets a little bit of the glue on the side of the spine so it just adheres better. And I keep moving it down so I'm not getting glue all over the fabric because it is kind of abysmal when you do that. Trust me, I've learned the hard way. We're going to use the pointy part of the stick here in a minute after I glue it to tuck the very corners of the corners in so we get a nice sharp edge. And then we just repeat the process. And just like that, we have made the cover of a book. I'm going to smooth it all out, do my creases, get the fluff off, and that's it. You've made a cover for a book. When I design covers for my books, I have a terrible, terrible habit of doing things that are very complicated and difficult to weed. Luckily, Elspeth here was not that difficult to weed. She was literally the easiest part. But the rest of it, not so much. And I always hate myself in this moment when I'm weeding these complicated covers. And when I'm done, I love myself. But in the moment, like right about here, I hate myself. But I'm not going to make you sit here and watch the entirety of the weeding. Just know that it took me forever and you don't have to experience that pain with me. I always use parchment paper to put over my vinyl when I'm ironing it with my little Cricut iron. I make sure that there's nothing on the cover that's going to get under the vinyl. I center it up carefully, which means I eyeball it. It's fine. It always works out just fine. Then I put the parchment paper over and I just start ironing. Words, Anna. Even pressure, good heat. I really want a good adherence the first time. And I like to burn myself. Don't do that. 10 out of 10 would not recommend. Now, typically this part is the easy part, but it's been raining for like the past 8.5 years, it feels like, in Tennessee, and it is 1,000 degrees. And that does not bode well for heat transfer vinyl. I learned this the hard way. So I had to remake the entire cover. Yeah. I'm not going to make you relive the agony of redoing this cover with me. So we're going to skip right to the reveal. Here is my cover with Elspeth in the forest around Blunder, through one dark window with the vines and the thorns. We have the misty forest surrounding Blunder, and the bats that I'm okay with. It's okay. It's not my favorite, but they're there. We're going to accept it. Maiden, monster, martyr with the thorns. I added this little crown charm to the end of the bookmark because duh. A little raven on the spine, and I absolutely love it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm very proud of this one. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This is Paints and Pages. Please like and subscribe. I will get better at this, I promise. This is only my second video, but let's see what happens next.